it's the entry point, because you gotta have quantities that justify it. So at the end of the day, it's an ROI calculator. Every business, I guess, every business is just a big ROI calculator, and especially in manufacturing.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Dime. I'm Bryan. Fields. With me, as always, is Kellan, Finney. And this week, we got a very special guest, Shahar Yamay, CEO of Hefestus Technologies. Shahar, thanks for taking time. How are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Excited to dive in. Kellan, how are you doing?
Doing really well. Really excited to talk to Shahar. Really excited to dive into manufacturing, one of our favorite topics. How are you, Bryan?
Yeah, I'm stoked. I think this nerdy topic is one that Kellan and I are really excited to talk about. And I think automation maybe is one that some people listen to and they're like, kind of know what it means. It's really not. So I think before we get in, Shahar, it would be great for you to give a quick background on yourself and how you found your way to the cannabis space.
So I joined my father like 6 years ago. He had this cool joint machine that he made for an Israeli manufacturer. And he had this idea as this beta and started to try to push it. Now, obviously, the right market is North America, Canada and the States. So I practically, I was in high tech for years, and I know how to sell. I know how to market. And so we actually painted one corner of the facility, got a gimbal and started pushing a little bit of SEO. And that's how we started the cannabis journey of Festus.
What was the first prototype like? Were you surprised? Did you know he was working on it? Was there iterations for what we've seen from there to now?
Entirely different machine. We twisted in the beginning. Now we pride ourselves for doing the folding top. So, because that's the way to make a joint in our eyes. It was the twisting top. It was so slow. The insert was different. The software was entirely different. But I think we grew with the industry because the industry just changes every minute. So we grew with the industry. We grew with the papers. We grew with the material. And today we are in a good place. Touch wood.
Is the growing an element of working with the customers who say, hey, like, this works for us, but this is not necessary? Is it an iterative process of hearing the customer feedback and recognizing, hey, there's opportunities to improve. We should go back to the drawing board and make a difference?
100%. I wouldn't know shit without the clients. But I think the number one characteristic you need to have as an engineer, and I'm not an engineer, okay? I'm kind of the funnel to the engineering because I'm hearing the clientele and I just take the data and move it to the engineers. I think the best quality for an engineer is to be open-minded and not to be in love in your product. Because when you're in love with your product and you don't listen, we can talk about the twisting or the folding against twisting. I mean, the market wanted folded. So we went folding. The market at one point decided they want to pack infused joints. And we realized that just vibration from the bottom is not going to be good enough. So we added top packing rods, all kind of stuff like that. Now the markets want blunts, right? So let's do blunts.
What's the iterative process, right? How, like, let's say a customer comes back with an idea. Obviously, it can't just be, let's get into the lab, let's make it work. Is there a conversation around like what's possible? Can we R&D it? Like, I think that process of kind of like the internal working and the mechanism is kind of like the magic where I think sometimes outside of the space don't really understand like how complicated and then how nuanced these decisions making are, because every step along the way, right, there's compromises, right? If we're going to take one step to the right, maybe we have to do additional software, we have to redesign. But if we take a step to the left, maybe we aren't able to fulfill, but we should be able to test and consider those things. So how does that process work just from a roadmap standpoint?
First of all, from a roadmap standpoint, your bump's going to be the production against the R&D because you're limited. We're a decent sized company, but we're always limited because the same engineers that going to push the new batch and make sure that it's aligned with what we wanted to push up till now, they are going to be the same engineers that are going to work on an R&D for something that is futuristic, like pushing the needle to make sure that the air goes through the middle and not through the side, or making the auto tube that's coming out and a fully automated tube machine. So I think from roadmap standpoint, we understand what our capabilities are. We allocate, let's say, 20% of our engineering and manufacturing towards R&D. Sometimes it's 40%. And then we try to have milestones and try not to push them. But sometimes you need to push your milestones a little bit forward. Good thing about this market is that you always have MJBizCon at the end of the year. So you know that if you want to push something big, you need to be ready after alpha, after beta, after testing towards MJBizCon. So the bigger changes, and you can see it in all automation companies in the industry, are going to come towards MJBizCon because that's the way to show. And when you're producing machines for manufacturing companies, you need to show them what you're making. You cannot just post it and say, believe me, it works. We need to show that it works. So that's how we're trying to plan our R&D roadmap, where we're ready with something entirely mid-October, and then we can push it in December.
Is there added complexities to working with cannabis? Like, do you guys have a cannabis license? Can you touch that? Or do you have like specific partners that you work with when you are like exposing the equipment to one of those like final stages of testing where it's interacting with like the plant material itself?
Here in the States, you have hemp, and most of, like, if you get good hemp, it really behaves like cannabis.
That's what we're doing. Tastes like cannabis too.
Same, but different.
THCA flower.
Yeah. No,
but it's different.
You know. But think about in Israel. In Israel, it's not a legal market. So when we're thinking about stuff and we're testing it, we're using extracted cannabis, let's say. Extracted cannabis is much lighter than cannabis. Doesn't have all the oils to it. So there are adjustments that needed to be done between here and there, but I think we just got so much better at it, because we learned. We've done it a few times. We're talking about like since 2014 that we've been working on this product. So we got a lot of years of R&D to this, like 11 years.
I'd imagine there's a ton of failures too along the way where you're like, oh, this is going to be awesome. We're going to implement this. And the engineers are like, yeah, we'll do it. It'll take 6 weeks. And then it takes 12 weeks. And you're like, where is it? And they're like, we need some more time. And you're like, we're 6 weeks behind. And then you see it and you're like, this isn't what I had in mind. That's part of the iterative process. Is there any elements where early on in that process, you're like, this is going to be an awesome part of the product, and it just never worked out?
Tons of it. I think we had this crazy tamping station that were using air, and we tried bumping the joints to the roof and then let them drop the back, and we thought it's gonna be like a game changer, and then it went to shit after like the first attempt. And you need to test it. I mean, when making machines, you really need to test it by hand and see if it's working. So we got tons of ideas like this. I'm laughing when I'm saying it because numerous ideas that just went to the garbage, and there were great ideas initially.
And listen, the ideas
didn't work. It just didn't work.
Well, that's like the principles aspect of it, right? Because at the end of the day, like physics are still physics, and there's no overcoming those challenges. As much as you'd like to bend those laws, sometimes they're there for a reason.
Yeah. No. Funny. Great question, by the way. Like. I appreciate this.
I was going to say, what's it like balancing like the automation portion with like all of these companies kind of probably behave slightly differently, right? Some of them may use trim, whole flower. They all have like their own USPs, right? And like your system automates one process. Like, what's it like integrating into so many different types of companies? Do you guys have to adapt? What's that kind of?
We have this MSO we're working with, where in Jersey, the length of a queue is not the same as the one in Illinois.
Yeah.
So
I love that. It's all there.
And they grind the same. They grind the same. It's one of the best companies in the States. Okay. Great name. I'm not going to mention it, but And they have this SOP, they do it the same because of the flour. Because the flour got, yes, and I'm not an agronomic, I'm not coming from that area, but it's just different. And it's longer or shorter in 3 millimeters. Go figure. Same weight. The machine does the same. The grinder does the same. It's the same name on it.
Is there an understanding though on like both sides that it's just part of dealing with a plant?
Or did you know you were going to have that? Or that was one where just kind of
I was entirely surprised. Usually when you're dealing with an MSO, their biggest facility or the facility they're used to making the testing on is your first one, and then you're migrating everything to the next. And you're coming there and you're expected to do a X millimeter joint, and it just comes out longer or shorter. And then the overall performance got like, why isn't it like that? Because the flour is different. Like, it is what it is. That's why we like it so much. I guess me, myself, I consider myself a part of the industry. That's what's fun about this industry. And we're dealing with flour.
The fun aspect is some days you wake up and you've got a surprise that you never knew was even possible, and you've got a new challenge to solve.
Yeah, it's more of it's even like on a daily basis. You got some batches that are just far more heavy because of the moisture content, and you need to make changes in the morning. And it can occur every morning. It can occur every 2 weeks. So the cool thing about our machine is it's pretty simple, to be honest. I mean, we've invested a lot in it, but right now it's pretty simple. So they understand what they need to do. But surprises are coming from all angles every time. And it's a cool journey.
What about like pulling lessons from the tobacco industry? Is there like overlap there where you can take a look at some of the techniques and some of the elements that they're doing and say, okay, well, maybe today we can't implement these things, but maybe in the future we should consider pulling from some of these secrets that they're doing?
We're always looking on every industry that we're working on. We're always looking to what exists. But I think that because of tobacco, because the fact that tobacco is a leaf and this is flower, because the powdery essence of cannabis, and it's just most of the solutions are not there. Some solutions are going to come from filling solutions from different food industries, especially after it's grinded. But I think also on the packaging aspect of things, because we're a packaging company originally, most of the solutions that you see today in the cannabis, and I'm not talking about joint machine. Joint machine is a niche, but every other solution is something that's coming from food business. The jars, the Mylar bags, even the blister packs. Someone did it before. So it's just a nice implementation, work with the regulation, and make sure that the quality is there in the equipment.
What percentage of the industry do you think is using automation just in general?
Wow. You're talking about pre-roll segment or generally?
Yeah, let's just talk just pre-rolls. What percentage of the industry do you think is using an automated pre-roll, and which ones do you think are like hand-filling manually?
I think most of the industry is still hand-filling.
Like 75% you think is still hand-filling?
I would say, and that's also because most of the bigger companies are doing automation.
Well, why is it switch? Is it fear? Is it disruptive? Is it the intimidation of the price? Is it quality? Where do you think the biggest challenge is?
I think it's two things. I think it's the entry point, because you gotta have quantities that justify it. Because at the end of the day, it's an ROI calculator. Every business, I guess, is just a big ROI calculator, and especially in manufacturing. But I think there's also the fact that because this industry is so young, and the first automation that got in is always going to be shit. Us 6 years ago, we weren't there. And so the name for pre-roll fully automated machines right now is a little intimidating, or the way people perceive it, because it's too complicated. I've heard numerous times people saying, $500,000 weight, paperweight. But I really see that, I don't want to say 100%, but we got some good, our clients likes working with us because we change, we adjust, we're there, we always answer the phone, even when we're not perfect. And we still aren't perfect. No one's perfect.
No, and I think in a space where automation and technology in a plant where you're finding these surprises, the expectation can't be perfect, right? It has to be a continuous growth mindset where if we have an issue, we'll continue to refine that. And there's an expectation that like you're a trusted partner, that you'll be there along the way. But I think it's interesting when you talk about the ROI element, because you're right, it's a numbers game. And at the end of the day, like, what are those numbers? And if it makes sense, then considering it should be just like anything else, where it's like, if we can spend X to make Y, does it make sense? So what size would you say, like, is it where it's too small to go to automation? And then where do you think the sweet spot is of like right around the gray area of considering switching from manual to automatic?
Yeah. Above 30K a month units, and no brainer. It will take you it really depends on a lot of variants or a lot of aspects, but I think around 30 to 50K, it's a good start point. But if you know that you're going to push something, you're going to push an SKU, and you want to get to 70, but you're only doing 10, that's also a good starting point, because you need to be ready. Another starting point is when you're planning a facility, and you still even don't have nothing, but you don't want to invest in a crew of 10 people. And so you start small, and you'll grow with time. That's also a good entry point. But to your question, the number is 30 to 50 by automation. By the right automation, by automation.
For sure. But I think that's like the element that I'm thinking about, because I'm sure there's a bunch of brands out there that are right around that sweet spot line and thinking to themselves, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's enough, it hasn't modeled out. But once they hear the true element and the ROI standpoint, it becomes like maybe we should be considering this, because if we're spending X and we have all these personnel handling these elements and we're trying to get up to a scale kind of limited based on just personnel. And once we remove that factor and we can automate, then the limitation is no longer personnel, it becomes units sold.
100%. And also, you need to have more than one operator, obviously, because that's the problem about personnel. Someone can be sick. Something could happen. Someone's daughter don't want to go to school or whatever. And so you need to have backup. And I think automation helps a lot with that.
Definitely.
I think, but if before you mentioned the fact that what people are expecting with automation, and I think the iPhone, people are expecting iPhone, so everything is perfect, everything is working, everything. But you make I don't know, 1 billion of this. But pre-roll machines, it's a niche. How many pre-roll machines do you think there are sold a year? 200, 300. Not more than that, less than that if it's fully automated. So it's always like a tweaks that are going on, not just for us, for the competitors as well.
I watched one of them at an event, and it's super fascinating to see all the widgets and the gadgets moving, and you see that things just happen naturally throughout the process that cause issues, right? And unless you've experienced that before, don't know where to clean it or know where these challenges are, these are not things you can model out or forecast. Your engineers can't go through it. They can try and do some edge cases of testing out some situations, but it needs to be in the field, and someone needs to use it to find some of these other surprises, which is part of the ebbs and flows of the industry, but also of automation technology in general.
I really think that at this point, we know 90% of the cases. So we're not surprised anymore, but teaching, making sure SOPs are there, making sure cleaning SOPs are there will make it flow. It's really a beast, small beast, but a beast.
Has anyone asked you to automate the cleaning process for them?
No, remove that. How would you do that? Let me think. Interesting.
I just wouldn't be shocked if one time they're like, hey, like cleaning it is really time challenging and we're not doing a good job cleaning it. So it'd be really great if you could make the pre-rolls and then clean itself and then maybe just get like another robot to put the products in. And now
No, but hey, Bryan, it's not that crazy to clean it. I mean, everything is open. You just need to clean it once in a while. It's like teaching your boy to make sure that he clean his room every day.
The reason I bring that up is it like there's so many moving pieces inside like the facility, and as teams recognize, well, this is a step that we have to do. If we could just automate this step, right? Because those people in the mindset of automation are like, well, what else can we automate? What else can we?
Who's gonna clean the cleaner?
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Oh, then it's good business for us because it's endless loop. But I think I tried to avoid this one.
No, for sure. I'm just curious to know if you've ever been asked that, because I'd imagine that in this space, people were like, well, it'd be super helpful if it never had to be cleaned and it just cleaned itself.
We cut the papers. And
I saw.
We cut the papers, and then in the beginning it used to drop. And then there was a pile of tops of paper, like paper cut. And so we've introduced a vacuum cleaners with like a Dyson. You got a Dyson on the thing that just vacuum what the scissors does. So maybe we'll get there, Maybe it's our next step.
Well, that's why, like, when I was looking at it, those were the elements that I was personally most fascinated with, was because, right, there's like the normal process of filling the pre-roll, but what happens with all the extra parts? How does that stuff work through? Because those are the elements that, like, I tend to think through is like those probably where people have challenges, they need to make adjustments. And those are the specific nuances that I think separate the companies going forward. And that's what I really appreciate about like the product, was all those like small nuances that probably aren't listed as the priority features. But for me, those are the elements that I think separate the companies in the space.
Thank you. Yeah. Happy you noticed.
Well, that nerded me. What about the people who are fearful of like, hey, like, I don't want to replace the jobs? Are those conversations still happening, or are people past that at this point? They're like,
that's a good point. I think I've been asked this like 100 times, and every operator that I ask, if they have a good team, they will move them to do something else. If the team is a team that they want to reduce anyhow, they will reduce it. But usually, they plan to move them to a more manual process. Problem about pre-roll filling process, it's so manual. It's so labor intensive. We've got so many people doing it. And in manufacturing generally, when you see like a funnel that reduces like you have with the pre-rolls or the tubing, it just doesn't make sense. So people are going to the flower lines or the edible lines or do more cleaning. But yeah, I don't think we're replacing jobs. I think we are just doing it better for the businesses.
Do you see a world where it's like fully automated, like lights out manufacturing essentially?
To be honest, there are solutions for visual QC, and we also have a solution that is for visual QC. But I think that those who believe in the quality and strive for the quality of the product can touch the product before it goes to the end packaging. So, and it's not like you're filling Coca-Cola or Pepsi. It's flour that changes between Illinois to Jersey. So
2 millimeters.
that's not nothing though.
Yeah, that's not nothing at all in a very small joint. So yeah, I think we're not there yet. And as long as we keep, I mean, for beverages, yes. For edibles, yes. But everything that's flower related, like joints, buds, moon rocks, whatever, you're gonna still need to visualize by sight, and you're gonna still need to touch it by hand.
What's let's say a team implements one of your automated systems. What's the training protocol look like? Is it your team comes in, they help, you work with this?
Yeah. We start before. We kind of we ask them for samples when they decide to go with us. We ask them for samples of their paper, and we try it. We ask them for their end result, what they're trying to achieve in length and in weight. And we make sure that our holders are on spot. Then when we get to the facility, when one of our techs are coming from Vegas or from New York to the facility, they will be with the team for 5 days. And that's actually kind of fascinating. Install is a very interesting thing. I used to shit my pants about installs, but now it's looking much better. The first day is always making sure that they have air, making sure that the electricity is there, making sure they assembled it in the right place. Because practically the machine can be up and running 30 minutes from the box. But they need to be taught the SOPs. So we talk a lot the first day, and everything is on spot. Second day is about teaching them about all the manual modes, what the settings look like, what they should do, what are recommended SOP. And on the third day, they run by themselves. We'll be there for the day 4 and 5, just to make sure that they're good. Day 4, usually Jesse, our lead tech, our director of tech, he has this process where he tries to fail them and to see how they troubleshoot. So it's a funny day, the fourth day, for us at least. But on the 5th day, they really run. So practically, the week afterwards, they're gonna need us because they will come on the second day. Let's say they come to work on Thursday and on Tuesday, and something's not working. They're gonna call Jesse in the team. They're gonna be probably mad or hysterical. But then on the 3rd week, it's just running. It really is running, and they're producing. And I have this legacy story of a client that started on his 2nd week to do 3 shifts. So it's like 20,000 joints a day after a week with the machine. That's just crazy. And it's a small machine. That's not, it's sometimes cheaper than the competitors. 20,000 joints a day, 3 shifts. That's you need to clean in the middle. So that's a lot.
But that's a serious volume, right? When we're talking about like scaling volume, that's not a small number. And I mean, it would take you an army of people forever to roll those.
I think we're talking at least, to get this, I think you need to have at least 3 teams of 10 people. So you got 30 people working, and now you have only 3.
A little bit of savings.
Yeah, but that's where like the numbers are like you said before, is like, well, what's your expectation from a unit sales? Because like, some elements of the process are scalable, but this one specifically, there's just manpower. And at that point, like the numbers just make sense where, okay, if you're trying to hit these type of volumes, like what are we actually considering? You're just going to bring over like an entire busload of people to like roll forever? Like that works, but like, is it the best approach? And then the variation, the quoting, I start to wonder the other side is like the automation side. I understand people being like, well, it's not as nice. Sure, maybe like that's fair if they want to say that, but there's probably a consistency element of ensuring that like it's in the top 80% every single time, which, at the end of the day, consistency is really, I think, a missing piece because that artisanal approach, works in the short term, but as the industry evolves, consistency is what brands are built on, and you need to have that state by state.
100%. And also the entire flow of our machine is very much like hand rolling, or like hand stuffing. So we do it again and again. The machine does it again and again and again. And like you said, like you gotta get better joints. You gotta get better joints working with that, especially if you're comparing it to vibrating tables or stuff like that, because your feeling is inconsistent. And then when it's inconsistent, you're looking at the length before you twisting or folding, and then you're gonna need to add some, and then everything becomes messy. And then when you look at other industries, like food industry or beverages, there's no people sitting on a vibration table feeling a little bit.
Maybe they're doing it wrong. No.
Yeah. No.
You don't think Coca-Cola's doing that?
You see Coca-Cola just pouring a little bit with the red cup. No,
that's why they need big facilities.
That's what I'm saying. But that takes me to your question before about where's the sweet spot for ROI. Obviously, a client that does 20 a day and can produce 300, 400,000 a month, it's a no-brainer, buy to. But also those that can even work 5 days a month, push it. And then some clients actually work like that. They push the production for the pre-rolls for a week and a half of the month, and then they can do other stuff. So you get one room, the machine is on wheels. Push it to the side, bring flour in, push it to the side, make gummies. If you're a smaller operator, that's also a very smart way to go. And then you're using automation for your flexibility and not just for your pushing numbers. You can just use one room or two rooms with the same team, 4 or 5 people doing everything. You guess.
I think it goes back to that same thing we talked about is like, there's like the small operators who it doesn't make sense for them in any capacity today for them ever to use automation. There's the large scale guys who probably already done it. And then there's probably this massive 80% middle ground of like people who could consider it, but they're like unsure about technology, placing jobs. Do we have the skill set? Do we have the sales volume? But that's where the modeling works and tells itself, where it's like, if you think this is going to be a core part of your business over the future, run some numbers. If it makes sense, then the return on investment is super clear. And if it doesn't, you continue to go. And I think that's the best part about technology is that like when you get to these type of numbers, it's about like being in the position to grow with it is sometimes one of the challenges that happens where it's like you have to invest today in order to grow with it.
There are options, and we also offer options. But there are other companies that do a pay-per-join. But the machine is never yours. So your ROI is never going to justify it, because if you're doing a 10-cent joint or something like that, and 10-cent pre-roll, and you're making 300,000 pre-rolls, then you're paying 30 a month. In a year, you're paying 360, which is far more than our machine. And it's not yours still. So either you go to a third party and finance it, or if you have the money, put it down, or ask us to help you a little bit and we'll figure it out. But I just think that this model just makes more sense. Own a machine. Own a machine with a company that is willing to give you the best service to it, and will always answer your phone. It sounds like I'm pitching right now, but I'm just, I'm really speaking from my experience here.
I think that's important too, because like people see automation and there's hesitancy already because maybe they've been burned before. And it's important to know that like if they have a problem, which they likely will because things happen, they have to know someone be there to answer the phone, because, you know, it's one thing to invest the money into a piece of technology, but it's another thing. It's when, you know, you're 6 months in and you have a problem. Can you get to the other side? Will it detract and will it sabotage what's currently happening from production? Or will you get a quick, immediate solution? Will a member of your team help them to resolve that? Because issues do happen. You have to overcome that, which is, again, another part of the industry that's a challenge.
That's the biggest challenge. That's the biggest hurdle to trust a company that tells you we'll be there for you. Okay? Why would anyone trust that? And I think right now we're at a point where we can really just refer our clients, our current clients, and ask them if we'll answer the phone. And always I'm saying, I'm saying, guys, take my personal phone. That's my personal phone number. Call me. I mean, if you think you got a problem, but we are, the Festus USA that deals with the cannabis right now is more of a cannabis company than automation company. We understand cannabis. We understand the hurdles. We understand what it means to be down with the machine when you need to push flour out, and we really stand behind it. We really stand behind it.
Are you experimenting at all with AI or considering it, or kicked anything around? Anything there you can share?
More for visual analyzing. The visual analyzing, yes, we are using AI. It's funny that you mentioned it, because I'm in the process of it right now, and there's 2 ways today that visual analyzing works with AI. It's either you know what's perfect and you want to get as close to it as possible. Hey, here's a perfect joint. Get as close as possible to it. Or or you tell the AI what's bad, and it's gonna make yeah. So there's two approaches to it. The biggest companies that are doing visual inspection today, half of them are doing it this way, half of them are doing it the other way, and we believe that for joints, maybe I shouldn't say what we believe, but I think for joints, we try to eliminate and not get it to the perfect one, because the perfect one changes a lot.
Super subjective. But I think that the using of the AI for the kind of QA QC is another level of value added, right? Because it's going through the entire process, and then the inspector is saying, or this inspector is the AI here, is like saying, yes, good, continue, or no, bad, go in this other column. And that other pile can be reviewed manually by a person who goes, no, these are good. They just kind of look a little ugly, or like this one is no good. Let's get it started. And then think about the experience for a customer, right? They know every single time they're getting a beautiful, consistent product versus these other one, which, maybe the team gets to enjoy themselves.
That's exact. And you know what? The coolest thing about AI, you can really talk to it in percentages. And I'm talking about the beta or even an alpha that we're working on. It's not like something that's in the field, but you can tell it lower the overall quality because they need to be pushed, or make it as close to 100%. And that's where AI really gets super cool on production.
Is there any technology or any sensors you're looking to additionally integrate in with the AI, or just kind of like, we'll take it one step at a time?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm not sure how to take it. We are seeing some stuff that are going in other industries, like baking industries, high capacity bakers, and the inspections there are fully visualized with cameras and lasers. So we're considering it, but again, it really depends on the output. For an output of 1,500 an hour, you don't need something too crazy. You just need to teach it what's good and what's best. So that's where we're at right now. But it could take us any direction. I mean, interesting.
You have any announcements over the next year you could share or tease out for us?
We're going to come to Vegas with 2 or 3 more machines. We're going to present a turnkey line for pre-roll automation, A to Z. And I don't want to be too fancy about it, because practically what we'll do is we'll just do simple machines that work. And if it doesn't work, then we'll make it work again. And that's just how we do it.
I love it. Last question. What do most people not know about automated pre-rolls?
Most people don't know that it's already solved. Just need to come and grab it. That's what they don't know.
I love it. So Shahar, for our listeners, they want to get in touch, they want to learn more, and they want to automate their pre-rolls, where can they find you?
They can find us at FestusTech.com, or just ping us on LinkedIn or something. We're happy to answer. And I have to tell you that we got a great group of people. We're a family-owned business, and we're just family. So everyone's always welcome.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Great time.